What is up, everybody, and welcome back to the Mid-Level Media channel, your hub for everything physical media and entertainment. I am Ken, here today to do my top 10 studio and boutique labels of 2021 as far as Blu-ray and 4K releases. So this is a really exciting video. I got the idea to do this because I did want to spotlight all these specific labels and just kind of break down what came out for each one and then rank them accordingly to just, my own personal enjoyment. And also, like, I didn't buy every single release this year. I wish that I did. I wish I had time to watch all of this stuff and to buy every single release and watch it and review it for you guys, but I just don't. So I have to kind of pick and choose just what I'm the most interested in. But so a lot of these releases I do have in my collection, but then some of them I do not. So I try to take into account just my own personal preference and taste, but also just sheer amounts and quality of the other releases that I didn't get, and just my perspective from like seeing other people talk about them, other people's excitement for them and stuff like that. So I try to take into account like my own personal my own personal taste, my own personal preference, but also other people's preference and just how I saw it in the year 2021. What was the more popular releases and stuff like that? Which label did they fall under? So I didn't just want to do like a top 5 studios and then top 5 boutiques. I wanted to lump them all together because I just thought that was a little bit more interesting. So I've got Arrow Video, I've got Criterion, we've got Paramount to talk about, we've got Sony, Universal, just all of these different companies. We're going to throw them all together in a blender and we're going to shuffle them around and we're going to see who comes out on top. Before we get into it, guys, I do want to ask that if you are not yet a subscriber of the Mid-Level Media channel, definitely consider hitting that subscribe button. Do all kinds of physical media-based content on this channel. So if you like Blu-rays, if you like 4Ks, hell, if you like DVDs, hit the subscribe button. Also, be sure to like this video, guys. I would definitely appreciate that. And comment down below just what were your top 5 labels, your top 10. What was your favorite studio boutique label of 2021? Which label put out your favorite stuff in 2021? So let's go ahead and get into it, guys. I don't want this to be a super long video, but it probably will be because one, you guys know me by now. I do long videos and I'm surrounded by like 100 releases right now, so I'm not going to talk in depth about all of them, but we are going to talk about them all together. But I do want to spotlight a couple of honorable mentions. So the first one will be Blue Underground. So they did some really good work in 4K this year. They did Dead and Buried, they did The Final Countdown. So some cool stuff coming out of them. I also want to highlight Mill Creek. I know they get some crap for their transfers not being the best, but I love these retro VHS slipcovers. And they did I think 12 of these this year or something. So it's like the most I've seen from them in a given year. So really cool stuff from there. Also this Randolph Scott collection. I'm going to get into this in Western Month, but this is a really cool collection from them. 12 movies in one set. And this Rad Steelbook was really beautiful. I thought this was a great Steelbook that came out this year. It's not the 4K release that like Vinegar Syndrome did that goes for like crazy amounts of money, but it was cool that they re-released Rad and they brought this Steelbook out. And I also think that they did a regular Blu-ray release as well. So those are a couple of my honorable mentions. Also, I have to mention Vinegar Syndrome. I know a lot of you be like, where was Vinegar Syndrome? They did all kinds of great stuff. I know they did. I know that Scanner Cop collector set was really cool. The Tix 4K. I don't really follow Vinegar Syndrome. I don't collect a lot for them as of right now. So I couldn't include them in my top 10. But again, I know that they would be in a lot of people's top 10. People go nuts for their Vinegar Syndrome, and I'm happy that you do, but it's not going to be in my top 10 today. But did want to call them out because it is a company that's definitely growing and gaining more popularity and notoriety in the physical media community. So it is something I do want to collect more for in 2022. So let's get into my number 10, guys, and we're going to start with good old Disney. Disney did some cool catalog titles in 2021. We got Speed on 4K. We got Unbreakable on 4K. Had they have put out Heat in 4K, this might have bumped up to maybe my number 9, but they didn't. But yeah, they had some catalog titles. Of course, they had their Disney, they had their Pixar. I bought Raya the Last Dragon, the Target exclusive. Like I said, I didn't buy everything, but you got Black Widow that came out in 4K, Target exclusive. So they do a lot of the Marvel stuff. They do a lot of the Disney animated. They did a few catalog titles here and there. Obviously, with Disney, they got Disney Plus. It would be awesome if they put like The Mandalorian out on physical media, if they put the Marvel shows out on physical media, but they're not doing that. as of right now. And, you know, it doesn't feel like Disney is fully embracing and supporting physical media, and I do hope that changes soon because they got access to so many of the old school like Fox titles. So we're not going to get Fight Club, we're not going to get Aliens until they decide to put them out. So please, Disney, start putting out more 4K releases. If they started putting out those Fox catalog titles like in mass, like Disney would probably bump up to like in my top 5. But you know, they still put out all the Marvel stuff. People love that, the Marvel stuff, some cool Steelbooks, Pixar, Disney, all that stuff. So that's good enough to make it in my top 10. So let's move on. And I'm going to set some of this stuff to the side as I go because my table is going to get very crowded if I don't. But let's move on to my number 9. And my number 9 is another company that I could see making it into the top 5 next year because they've got an incredible slate going into 2022. They've got so many new 4Ks, and they just got into 4K, I think, at the tail end of 2019, and that is Kino Lorber is my number 9. And like I said, they did, I think, 5 4K titles in 20. They did one, the Mad Max one in 2019, then they did 5, I think, this year in 2021. Or no, that would have been 2020. Why did I say 2019? It's like 2020 never happened. But yeah, they did 5 4K titles this year. And of course, like Kino Lorber, have called them this on the Physical Media Report. They're the most consistent as far as like their output of physical media. Like every single week, even if I don't have anything to talk about, Kino Lorber's always putting out like 2 or 3 or 4 or 5 or 6 titles every single week, just old classic film titles that I honestly would love to get more into, but I just haven't as of right now. But yeah, they're always putting out stuff every single week. They're the most consistent. They did some really good work in 4K this year, The Good, the Bad, the Ugly. I'm excited to watch that real soon for Western Month. They also did Spaceballs in 4K, which I really enjoyed. They did Silence of the Lambs in 4K this year. They did The Invasion of the Body Snatchers in 4K, which I haven't picked up yet. Misery in 4K. They did The Train, which had some really cool artwork. That's another thing I love about Kino Lorber. Like, they'll do some really cool slipcover sets for their Blu-rays, not just their 4Ks, with some really nice artwork, reversible cover art. So they're really trying to make a play to get into that like prestige, like boutique, the boutique label market, you know, and I could see them honestly being up there with Criterion, up there with Screen Factory, up there with Arrow Video at the end of next year, just with the amount of stuff that they got coming out at the beginning of 2022 and just all the stuff that's been rumored for Kino Lorber. So yeah, Kino Lorber, I'm a big fan of them. I definitely want to check out more of their stuff going into next year for sure. They had a lot of incredible sales in 2021 too. The June sale, they had an October sale, they had a December sale, all their stuff super cheap. So I got a lot of Kino Lorber titles that I want to dig into, just some backlog titles early part of next year. So let's get into my number 8. And this is normally a studio that puts out great stuff every single year. Like, they have some of my all-time favorite 4K releases, The Shining, Wizard of Oz, but Warner Brothers is my number 8, and they still did a really great job in 2021. They put out some awesome stuff like A Clockwork Orange, some really cool catalog titles. They put out The Shawshank Redemption in 4K. They put out Godzilla in 4K. They put out Willy Wonka and the Chocolate Factory, for Christ's sake, in 2021. So they did some good work. It's just, I don't feel like I saw the level of output that I'm used to seeing from Warner Bros. I feel like they do a lot more usually. And this year it kind of just felt like it took until about, I don't know, April or May until they really started putting stuff out, June. It felt like they were kind of absent for the early part of this year. And that's a couple of other ones we'll mention in here as well. So that's definitely going to knock them down because I like the studios that are more consistent throughout the year for sure. But, you know, they had all of their, you know, HBO Max movies, the Warner Brothers movies, the studio released films that came out on 4K. I know a lot of people were praising Godzilla vs. Kong. I haven't got a chance to watch it yet, but from all accounts, that's a great release. Mortal Kombat. But I just don't pick up a lot of the new movies and stuff, so I didn't get a chance to watch all those. Zack Snyder's Justice League came out. I know a lot of people went crazy for that one. But, you know, one thing you got to knock them down for is, you know, the Mad Max, the audio issues. These could have been some really phenomenal releases that were definitely had some points taken off of them for the audio issues, and definitely have a mark of negativity on them at this point. So the Mad Maxes could have been some really cool releases from Warner Brothers and just turned out to be ultimately disappointing. So, you know, Warner Brothers, with this, I'm also including like the sub brands in here, and I'm going to do the same for Paramount with Paramount Presents. But the Warner Archive titles are usually pretty consistent week to week. We get some new Warner Archive titles. That's a really cool sub branch of the Warner Brothers label, putting out some really cool classic films and stuff in that. You also get all the DC animated stuff from them this year. We got Space Jam. Like I said, I don't buy everything, but you got Space Jam with Michael Jordan, the old one from the 90s, and the new one, A New Legacy as well. But I know a lot of people are going nuts for that. They love their Space Jam. I'm not a huge fan of that movie, but like I said, you get all the Batman animated movies. You got The Conjuring 3, you got the In the Heights 4K, you know, the Suicide Squad on 4K, which I haven't seen yet, but I've heard great things about that one. Malignant, this is another reason I got to knock them down. They didn't put Malignant out on 4K. They put it out on Blu-ray. Why couldn't you have done it on 4K? You got Cry Macho on 4K, The Many Saints of Newark on 4K. So we had some good stuff. The Outsiders on 4K with no slipcover. What's going on, Warner Brothers? Y'all don't usually do that. That's a Disney thing. That's not for you all. But anyway, I love Warner Brothers. They always put out some really stellar releases. But this year it just kind of felt that they weren't really firing on all cylinders. I don't know. Did anybody else feel that way? Just let me know in the comment section below. But let's get into my number 7. This might be a controversial choice because they put out a lot of really cool shit in 2021, but my number 7 is Scream Factory. And I'm going to try to explain myself and just kind of let you all know why, but it felt like they put out a couple 4Ks at the very beginning of the year, but honestly, those were delays from 2020, so those were supposed to come out in 2020, but They Live and The Prince of Darkness came out at the very beginning. So, you know, that was cool. And then they did Event Horizon, which was another one that was delayed from 2020. This one came out in March. And then it just kind of felt like they died for like 3 or 4 months and they didn't come out with hardly anything. Yeah, I know they have a lot of the Shout Select titles and stuff like that that pop out here and there. King Kong was a really cool release that came out. But then in July, they kind of picked up a little bit. And I think that the second half of 2021 for Scream Factory was definitely the strongest part of it. But the first half was, you know, just okay. But, you know, in the second half, you got The Dead Zone, you got House of Wax. These are both in my top 10 Blu-rays of the year. So definitely go check out that video if you want to see where they both rank. But both great releases. You got... I'm trying to say, you got Deadly Friend, we got Alone in the Dark, you got Elvira's Haunted Hills, you got Brotherhood of the Wolf. These are some releases that I didn't get a chance to get. Krampus just came out in 4K, which I haven't got a chance to watch yet. And then, of course, you know, the cherry on top. This is my number 1 4K release of the year. You got these Halloween 4Ks. They're beautiful. They're definitely beautiful, but it just didn't, you know, like I said, it's number 7. Number 7's a respectable spot, you know, but really the only release I got super excited about was the Halloween 4Ks. Everything else was just really good. Like, you know, I enjoyed House of Wax and The Dead Zone and all that good stuff. But yeah, Scream Factory is my number 7. Again, that might be controversial, you know. I don't really know. But, you know, let me know in the comment section below. Like I said, Scream Factory, number 7. Let's get into my number 6. And honestly, I was really debating on them. I didn't get a lot of their releases, but I was debating on maybe bumping them up a couple of spots right before I went on here to record. But Sony had a really incredible year with 4K catalog titles, and I didn't realize it till I really started to dig into it. But right from the beginning of the year, they put out this 2012 release, and they were supporting 4K. It felt like they were the only ones that was doing some stuff because they did 2012. They did Elysium, which I think was a big title in February, and it just felt like Sony was the only one that was putting like new 4K catalog titles out. At the beginning of 2021, everybody was just kind of sitting on the sidelines until we got to April and May. But Paramount did some stuff as well. But 2012, you got Elysium, Monster Hunter, Big Fish came out. That was an exciting title. You had The Last Action Hero 4K. I got the Steelbook for that came out. And then just all the incredible box sets that they did this year. They did the Underworld 4K collection, which was a really cool release. Of course, the Columbia Classics box set, Volume 2. This was a great release. And then at the very end, guys, like I said, they started strong and they ended strong. This Karate Kid set, which I just got in the mail, is absolutely stunning. It's beautiful. So I think that Sony did some really awesome work. Like, maybe you don't think about them often, but, you know, they just did Venom 2, which I wasn't a big fan of that movie. But, you know, Labyrinth, the 4K set that came out was a really cool set from them. Snatch on 4K came out, which I do have, didn't bring over. In the Line of Fire on 4K, Gattaca on 4K. So they just did some really good work this year, I think. You know, Peter Rabbit 2 on 4K. Who didn't love Peter Rabbit 2? I didn't see it, but they did some really good work this year. And I just want to say I appreciate Sony. I think they did some good stuff. But that Columbia Classics box set, though, is just absolutely stunning. So love that set. Let's go ahead and get into my top 5, guys. So this is the This is the cream of the crop here. This is what I consider to be the top 5. Again, I know all of our lists are going to be different. You're going to see things, and to be honest, like some of these could be a little interchangeable. These are all just have some incredible releases to them, but coming in at number 5, and to be honest, if I started to dig more into this label, I'm sure that they would move up because there's probably some really incredible films that I just have no knowledge of, but I'm going to speak for the ones that, you know, I thought were kind of the biggest releases from this label in 2021, but Criterion Collection, guys. Criterion Collection, I know it's a little snooty. I know we got to put our pinkies up when we talk about the Criterion Collection. We got to talk a little bit more in a prestige tone and manner when we talk about the Criterion Collection. So right now, guys, I'm going to get into my Criterion titles. But Criterion, guys, they really did some great work and capped off a great 2021 by moving to the 4K format, which a lot of people thought that they would never do. Which was super cool. So they ended up putting out like 5 4Ks in 2021. So that was cool. But in addition to that, guys, Criterion's just a great label. They got some great special features, you know. Usually they're great transfers. The picture qualities are absolutely immaculate. All the Blu-rays I watched this year were honestly pretty damn close to 4K quality. And it's just a really cool company that I love collecting for. Obviously, they do the 2 big sales, you know, July, November. So that's a great time to kind of beef up your Criterion collection. If you want to pick them up for cheap, 20 bucks, but they're usually 27, 28 on Amazon, so it's not too bad. But Memories of a Murder was a really cool release from them. I love the artwork on this Bong Joon-ho film, so I still need to watch this. I haven't yet. Fast Times at Ridgemont High, absolutely loved. This is in my, I think it made my top 3 Blu-ray releases of 2021. Absolutely fell in love with this title. Bringing Up Baby was a really good movie. Deep Cover was an awesome choice to put out for the Criterion Collection. That artwork is insane. Love and Basketball was a really inspired choice to put out. I like that. The Incredible Shrinking Man. Mirror, which I haven't watched yet, but this is a great box set that came out, and I definitely want to dig into this. A lot of people are praising that one. And then, of course, you know, the 4Ks came out. I didn't get Citizen Kane yet. You know, I know it's got the disc issues and stuff. A lot of people had disc issues this year, guys. I mean, Scream Factory had issues with putting their stuff out, and I didn't even get the Blu-ray disc of Halloween 4 in there. So it's not fair to really penalize people for disc issues because I feel like across the board, there were a lot of issues with a lot of labels this year. So Menace to Society, Uncut Gems, both great on 4K. I've watched them both. Menace to Society I just watched. This is such a great film. I'll do a small review here because I don't think I'll get around to a main one, but this looked absolutely incredible in 4K. I was blown away, and I'm just blown away by this film. It's such a it was such a great movie. Such like a real raw depiction of life in the hood, and it's just I love this movie. So Menace to Society was a great release. Uncut Gems, Citizen Kane, you had Mulholland Drive come out in 4K. The Red Shoes, which is one I do want to pick up sooner rather than later. I've heard great things about that one. But yeah, I was trying to see if there. High Sierra was one that I think a lot of people went nuts over. Minding the Gap came out. That was a great release as well. So yeah, just a really strong year for the Criterion Collection. I can see 2021 or 2022. God, I'm getting so confused in my ears. But I can see 2022 being even stronger for that company. But let's go ahead and get into my number 4, guys. And you know I gotta do it. You know I'm just I love those steel books that came out this year. But I gotta put Lionsgate as my number 4. You know, for one, they put out all those incredible steelbooks this year. Let me show off a few of them. I did my top 10 steelbooks of 2021, and Lionsgate I think showed up like 6 or 7 times. But the American Psycho steelbook's incredible, guys. Dirty Dancing they put out on 4K, and it's just on the steelbook, the 4K release. So that was a great steelbook, and then of course the Terminator 2 steelbook, which is still the same shitty transfer, but it's still a great steelbook. And then of course you got all the A24 titles that Lionsgate puts out. Minari, you got Saint Maud, Green Knight, Zola. Haven't got a chance to watch Saint Maud yet, but I love all the other A24 films that came out this year. They revitalized the Vestron line, and these are Lionsgate titles technically, even though Vestron is the company that puts these out. But The Ray, Sundown, Vampire Retreat were 2 great releases this year, along with the other 2 Vestron titles they put out. They put out Saw in 4K this year, which is a really cool release. They put out Spiral. A lot of You know, a lot of like new release studio titles that came out from Lionsgate, like The Wrong Turn Blu-ray. I really enjoyed Wrong Turn. I almost put that on my top 10 Blu-rays of 2021. I thought that was a really good movie. The Protege in 4K, Hitman's Wife's Bodyguard in 4K, both of those steelbooks for the first one and the sequel. You got Voyagers 4K, Chaos Walking, which I've heard is not a great movie, but I heard that transfer on that is one of the best 4K transfers of the year. LA Story with Steve Martin, I really enjoyed. That was a really fun Blu-ray. But yeah, Lionsgate killed it this year. I think they killed it this year, and I think they definitely earned that number 4 spot on my list between the Steelbooks, between the A24 titles, the Vestron titles, and just all the new 4K titles that they put out, the catalog, and the new movie 4K titles that they put out this year. So let's get into my number 3 label of 2021. So this is the last boutique label that I think I have to talk about. And you guys already know I'm a huge mark for this company. You know, I get sent a lot of their stuff for review, but that's honestly not why. I love them so much. It's just, I feel like they do the best work as far as like their transfers, and just their packaging is second to none. Nobody does packaging like Arrow Video. And I'm going to pull out this beautiful Donnie Darko set first to show that off. Look at that thing. It's absolutely gorgeous. This set, definitely the best box set that they released this year, I'm pretty sure. But there was disc issues with like frame rate on the, I think it was the director's cut, or was it the theatrical cut? I honestly can't remember, but Arrow was really quick to put a disc replacement program in place. They made it right with people that were having issues with that release. I didn't have any issues that I noticed when I watched it with mine, so it wasn't on every single one, but there were disc issues with this one, just to let you guys know. But it was still a great release by Arrow Video this year. But yeah, Arrow Video did such great work in 4K this year. They had some of the best, if not the best, 4K transfers of the entire year. All these Argento 4Ks they put out, the Deep Red, the Cat O' Nine Tails, Bird with the Crystal Plumage, were all incredible releases. They did the Dune on 4K, which I thought was an incredible looking release. Django, guys, I talk about it all the time. It's just one of my favorite releases of the year. I think it's the overall best transfer of 2021. The Hills Have Eyes on 4K, and Arrow didn't let up. You know, they started strong, you know, and they didn't quit. You know, they had JSA, Southland Tales, so there's some really cool releases. Phantom of the Mall, and then the box set was a really cool release. We had Legends on Blu-ray. I don't think I brought it over here, but that was my number 1 Blu-ray release of 2021. So Arrow Video always does great work. Had some great box sets this year. The Giallo Essentials came out this year. This Vengeance Trail set is awesome. The Bill Rebane collection came out this year, which is awesome. So the Years of Lead collection, like these are awesome box sets, guys. Arrow just does great work with their packaging and just everything that they do. So I really appreciate Arrow Video, and that was good enough to make my number 3. Again, not always the best movies that they put out, but the quality of packaging and transfer and special features and all that stuff just puts Arrow Video like head and shoulders above the rest. So let's get into my top 2, and my number 2, both of my top 2s are studio labels, and I thought that they both just put out some phenomenal catalog titles, new release titles, just some absolutely phenomenal releases in 2021 that, you know, were honestly just as far as like output and just the amount of stuff that they both put out, like they're second to none. But, you know, I do have them ranked in order for a reason. So the first one that I'm gonna call out is Universal. Universal is my number 2. So Universal always does some great releases, some really exciting releases every single year. You know, they did Carlito's Way this year, so a lot of really cool studio titles this year. I didn't buy every one of them, but I'll try to call them out. Do the Right Thing on 4K was one I didn't bring over, but I got the steelbook of that one, so that's a great release from them. The Croods that came out with News of the World with Tom Hanks. So Shrek on 4K came out this year. I know a lot of people really enjoyed that release. Animal House on 4K, that was another big one that came out. We had The Sting on 4K, which has great artwork. The transfer on this one wasn't the best I've seen all year, but and I didn't love this movie, but this artwork is fantastic, and Universal did a good job on it. But we had Smokey and the Bandit come out. We had the Psycho, Vertigo. They re-released them all with slipcovers, even though we had that Alfred Hitchcock collection. New steelbooks, new slipcovers for those. You know, like I said, we got the Inglourious Basterds from this year. This one didn't get praised that much, but you know, it's a cool release I got for Christmas. I'm looking forward to watching it. Nobody came out this year. One of my top 10 4Ks of the year right here, guys, came out this year, and that's Howard the Duck. Came out. You know, we got Scott Pilgrim versus the World. I thought this was a great transfer as well. Oh, I almost dropped it. And then, guys, well, I'll do this one first. The Universal Classic Monsters Collection. This is a phenomenal release by Universal. And then we got The Thing in 4K. God, this is one of my favorite releases of the year. I had so much fun revisiting this one. I thought the transfer looked absolutely fantastic. Let's see, we had Fast 9 come out. I'm not really a Fast and Furious fan. The Forever Purge came out. Old in 4K, Candyman in 4K, No Time to Die. A lot of people were really happy about that release that came out. So, like I said, a lot of new catalog titles, a lot of new release film studio titles. So just some really cool work by Universal in 2021. I thought they did a phenomenal job of just staying consistent with their releases just the entire year. So great work by Universal. And my number one, guys, I haven't called them out yet. And I didn't expect this label to be number one, but when I started to look at everything that they came out with, I was like, wow, they really just did some of the best work in 4K and new catalog Blu-ray titles. And, you know, they got their sub brands that we're going to talk about as well. So Paramount is by far my number one label of 2021. I thought Paramount did a phenomenal job this year with their transfers, with their releases, just the quality of titles that they put out. Some of these I haven't watched yet, but like we got to run down this list, guys. There's some great titles. First off, the Paramount Presents line is a great line that I didn't collect much for in 2021 until the very end. I got some for Christmas gifts, but right here, guys, I got 4 of their new ones right there. But they released 17 new Paramount Present titles for their little sub-label that they have. So I'm absolutely including that in here as well. But also, right out of the gate, Paramount was the first 4K of the year with Love and Monsters. So it was a new release title that came out in 4K. I've got the Blu-ray of it. I didn't buy the 4K when it came out, but that was the very first like big 4K release of 2021 was Love and Monsters. So they came out of the gate swinging. They revitalized some of their older classics on Blu-ray. They did a lot of that kind of stuff this year. They had Good Burger, Small Soldiers, Ladybugs, A Night at the Roxbury, She's the Man. So they were revitalizing and trying to put stuff out on Blu-ray for the first time this year as well. So they did great work there. They did the Friday the 13th Part 2 Steelbook, which is really cool. They did a Friday the 13th Blu-ray set, and then they did another Steelbook set. Like we didn't have enough Friday the 13th box sets come out, but they were both really cool that came out. The 10 Commandments 4K, that was a big 4K release that came out this year. A lot of people said some great things about this transfer. I haven't watched it yet. Another one that a lot of people said some good things about that I haven't watched is My Fair Lady. And people were actually commenting, yeah, you should have included My Fair Lady on your list. I said, I haven't watched it yet. I need to watch this movie for sure. But yeah, My Fair Lady was a great release by them. Trying to see, yeah, Super 8, I didn't buy it, but that looked like a really cool release that came out this year. The Almost Famous 4K came out this year. I think they did Paramount Presents of that as well. And then, of course, the Indiana Jones 4K collection. This was a great set and great release. This is in my top 10 4Ks of 2021. So yeah, Indiana Jones, I thought this was a phenomenal collection. I thought Paramount did a hell of a job on the transfers for these. Let's see what else we had. The G.I. Joe 4Ks, I didn't bring those over here, but those were super cheap at Walmart. That was exciting, even though I didn't, you know, love those movies or even watch them, but it was just cool to get them for like 25 bucks for both of them. Hansel and Gretel on 4K, they did the Star Trek 1 through 4 4K set, so that was another really cool set they released this year. A Quiet Place 2 was another cool release. This was a great movie. I have a review up for this one on the channel, so really enjoyed this one. Definitely one of the best movies of 2021. They did Scream on 4K this year, guys. So another great release. They did Planes, Trains, and Automobiles Steelbook. This was a cool Steelbook by them. They also did the Addams Family in 4K, which a lot of people are calling a top 3 4K transfer of 2021. So that was a great release right there. The Hunt for Red October in 4K, they re-put out. The Wolf of Wall Street. So just a really consistent year from Paramount, much the same as Universal. Just consistent output from beginning to end of just quality titles, of exciting titles that got us all through the year and just kept us all motivated to keep collecting physical media. So Paramount is absolutely, I didn't expect them to be my number one, but they were absolutely my number one label of 2021. So there you have it, guys. Again, long video, but I appreciate everybody that watched this video. Please, guys, comment down below. I want to know your all's thoughts. You know, what's your top 5? What's your top 10? Where did I go wrong? What should I put ahead of the other one? Because honestly, when I go back and think about it, I could have interchanged a couple of them, I think. I could have put one over the other. It's hard to kind of discern, you know, who's the best and stuff, but I did my best, you know, and I feel pretty good about this list. So appreciate your all's comments and your thoughts and stuff. So definitely leave those in the comment section below. Also, be sure to like this video, guys. Subscribe to my channel if you haven't already. Turn on those bell notifications for all future videos. The rankings are not done, guys. We got more to go. So there you have it, and we'll see you next time.